Hey, what's up, Lakerland? What's up, Laker family? I'm over here, Lakers for Life, Duncan here. I'm here going to talk about this Anthony Davis trade, what it does for the Lakers, what it means for us moving forward, and what we're going to do now that we have him on roster. Okay, so first, so many people are talking about trying to offer a max contract still, about creating this big three or this super team. Let me just start by saying I'm not so sure we don't already have a big three with Kyle Kuzma, LeBron James, as well as Anthony Davis. I'm not so sure that's not already a really big three, considering Kuzma's an 18.5 point per game guy, LeBron's a 25 point per game guy, Anthony Davis is a 25 to 30 point game a guy. So that's a big three there of its own. Interior wise, you're talking a lot of rebounds and a lot of points in the paint. Even Kyle Kuzma is really good with his back to the basket inside the paint. He's also capable of flooding out and nailing threes. So I'm not so sure we don't already have a big three in LA. But instead of taking all of our money and throwing it at one guy and then going with basically four guys and a bunch of nobodies, I think we should take some time and really create this roster into championship form. So let me start with the point guard position. Now, we have no point guard on roster anymore, except Bonga, if you consider that, and he's a project. He's big, he's got a lot of athleticism, a lot of potential, but he's still raw. And everybody's screaming for Kemba or Kyrie, when I think, honestly, you can get just as much talent on a much smaller contract from a guy named Darren Collison. Darren Collison, okay. First of all, he's never been on a real competitive team. Here's a chance that he can go and he can play for a championship level team. He can be a starter for that championship level team. He's a guy that he bodes really well with AD and LeBron, to the fact that he can attack the rim. He can find open playmakers when needed to. He plays really good defense, but he's also a dynamic three-point shooter. That's the four elements that we need in a point guard. But more importantly, he's not going to cost us the $30 million to get so, or $25 million. I'm willing to bet if we went over there and said, hey, we want you to be our starting point guard, and here's LeBron, here's Anthony Davis, would you be willing to do it for $10.5, $11 million or less? I'm willing to bet Collison would jump on that. Okay, it would be a career year for him, a chance for a ring, a chance for a title. I think he'd be all over that. Now, with Collison on board, the next step is Alex Caruso. He's already our backup point guard. He deserves more minutes. He can command an offense. He finds open players. He's a good passer. He's a decent shooter. And, well, he's in LA already. He would be fairly simple to sign on like a $250,000 contract. It'd be pretty simple. Now, what that would do is that would set up our point guard position with Collison, Caruso, and Bonga. That is a decent point guard position, point guard core. Next, I'm going after a guy that's familiar with the Frank Vogel system, a scorer, somebody who can light up a scoreboard, who can take threes, make threes, but can do a lot of the other things that is necessary. He could be really another scoring option, a dangerous scoring option for LA. His name is Terrence Ross. Terrence Ross has spent his career playing in a subpar Orlando team. He's been a primary scorer for that team. If he was to go for the Lakers, he would have a chance to, one, play for Frank Vogel's system again. He'd have a chance to, two, not to be the man on the system, but to be somebody who can benefit off of being lost by defenses. Somebody who's not going to get a lot of looks when he's got the balls. Somebody who can create their own shot while LeBron and AD are devastating opponents. He's somebody that can silently carve up teams and silently go on to becoming an NBA All-Star. And here's the thing. Do you think that Terrence Ross would pass down an opportunity to play in a system he knows with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, knowing that that could win a lot of games? That alone would be a good reason for him to sign on a mediocre contract. Now, Terrence Ross already makes about $10.5 million. He wouldn't command a huge raise because he's not the superstar, but he would probably take a discount or a pay cut in order to play for this team. Now you have a starting five of Collison, Terrence Ross, Kyle Kuzma, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. That's a solid five. Okay, now, with that said, you got to start going for players, bench players, role players. That's where I'm going to go off, and I'm picking up a guy who's a veteran. He's an older guy. I want somebody that can back up Kuzma at that small forward position. And to me, that only makes sense to bring in a guy like Wayne Ellington. He's older, he's a veteran, he's been lurking around a few teams. He's getting in the prime of his career. He's wanting to win, and he's probably going to want to win a championship. Coming to LA, playing a bench player's role here, limited minutes, with an opportunity to win. That's something that most veterans aren't going to pass up. And the fact that Wayne Ellington would easily be a guy we can add for $1.5 million without any thought whatsoever to it. Now you have Kuzma, you have Ellington, who are both a solid small forwards, very capable of scoring, doing what they got to do, and that's a solid 1-2 at the small forward position. I also believe you can use the luxury tax, the bird rights from Bullock to finish carving out that shooting guard position. So next, I'm now looking at Jericho Jones. Jericho Jones, you might not know his name, but he's that third man in that small forward position, that man that nobody talks about. He's a roster filler. He's somebody that's just a name that's in LA that can fill and take a position of a player. Some that fills out our roster if needed. He adds depth. Addy had some pretty decent games when needed. Next, I believe the Lakers will add shooters. One of the shooters that I'd love to see him add is Dragan Bender. Now, a lot of people may already have given up on Bender. They may already think that he's lost a step, or he doesn't do this well or doesn't do that well. But Bender does two things very well. First, he shoots threes. He's a premier three-point shooter, which is something that is going to fit really nicely on our team. Having guys that can fade back, drop threes, that's something that always benefits really nicely with LeBron. And honestly, AD, because now the Lakers are going to go inside. They're going to be able to kick it back outside. That's a decent accusation, and he's probably going to not cost more than $1.5 million. That's another cheap addition that can add something to this roster. Now, I'm still not finished there, okay? I think that at that point, we could re-sign JaVale McGee, who I think doesn't want to leave LA. McGee would be more than willing to take a $2.5 million contract, which is almost what he's making anyway. And he could easily come off the bench and provide defense, provide pick and roll scoring. He could also, his presence allows AD to slip over to the power forward position. LeBron can slip over to the small forward position, and they can go from there. So when you look at it and look about the roster that I created, my point guards, Darren Collison, Alex Caruso, and Isaac Bongo. Decent point guard positions. They can get the job done. They can score. They can contribute. Shooters, decent. Shooting guards, I got Terrence Ross, Bullock, and Wayne Ellington. Again, between Ross and Bullock's a knockdown three-point shooter, a decent defender. Ross, a solid scorer, somebody that can provide a lot of minutes, a lot of points, and a lot of athleticism and energy. My small forwards is Kyle Kuzma, and then I spent the veterans minimum and picked up Jeff Green to back him up. I think Jeff Green's a veteran's veteran. He's a position, won't command a lot of money, but can come on and play a few minutes and put in some decent stats in those minutes. And then there's Jericho Jones at the small forward. My power forward position is LeBron, Wagner, and Dragan Bender. Now, LeBron is LeBron. We already know he's one of the best players in the world. His ability to score, facilitate, basically do whatever he wants on the court is world renowned. We know Wagner is young Mo, but he's shown that he can shoot the three. He's shown to be athletic. In college, he was a defender, a shot blocker, a good rebounder. So if he develops into anything that he was in college, he'd be a solid number 2 option for us at that power forward position. Dragan Bender, as I stated earlier, he's a guy that missed a lot of time from injuries. He's an outcast in Phoenix, but he provides a lot of three-point shooting for us and could provide a lot of three-point shooting deep in that roster for us. And then, of course, the centers. You got Anthony Davis, JaVale McGee, and, of course, I think his name's Jason Williams. Again, what do you want me to say about that? That's an all-star level center position. Now, we could do this, and we can make every one of those deals work. That is a complete, solid roster from top to finish, made with superstars in Anthony Davis, LeBron James. It has a mix of some star potential with Collison and Ross, and Kuzma, and it provides depth with young players on lower contracts. So, to me, going out, spending a ton of money on another superstar would just be a waste of money, a waste of minutes, and really not so great for us. We would be paper thin and all over the rest of the team. So go out there, get involved with this, guys. Have some fun with the rosters. This is the favorite time of the year. This is where we put these teams together. This is where basically teams are formed. And as we speak right now, if Anthony Davis does not waive the trade clause or the Pelicans decide they want this done immediately, we're down to 23, I think, 27 to $28 million to spend on cap. That's not going to get us a superstar. That's not going to fill our roster. What we're going to end up doing is having to do mid-level exemptions, and stuff like that just to finish filling up our roster. So instead, we should spread it out a little bit, bring in a few other players, bring some depth around our stars, and let's build a championship level roster. That's my thoughts. I'd love to know what you guys think. It's a great day. We got Anthony Davis, we got LeBron James. So now we just can sit back and watch and see who else comes. These guys are going to want to play in LA. They're going to want to play with LeBron. They're going to want to play with Anthony Davis. They're going to see the Lakers as an immediate championship threat. And they're going to want to sign up. the whole outline of the Lakers has changed. The Lakers are back. We're back to championship caliber form. We're back to the dynasty years. We're back to having the number one center. And once again, by the way, every generation the Lakers have managed to land